Dry Creek Valley dates back about 140 years. Dry Creek Valley attracted settlers soon after the gold rush in 1849. By the late 1880s, there were about 9 wineries here, only about 880 acres, predominantly Zinfandel, what was grown. After 1933, Prohibition kind of ended the first boom of the wine industry. The only 2 wineries that were left standing were J. Petrocelli and the Fry Brothers. After that, Prunes and Pears kind of took over Dry Creek Valley a little bit, so it wasn't until about 1970 when the California wine revival happened that the wine industry kind of took back over here. By 1983, Dry Creek Valley actually became California's first AVA, which stands for American Viticultural Areas. I do know that Dry Creek Valley, the winery itself, actually was the first new California winery after Prohibition. So as I kind of said, Petrocelli and the Fry Brothers were still standing after Prohibition. Today, Dry Creek has grown to nearly 9,000 acres now. They've gotten up to about 70 wineries, still most of them predominantly family owned. What's really interesting is Dry Creek has now stretched to about 16 miles long, 2 miles wide. It does sit about 70 miles north of San Francisco, 20 miles east of the Pacific Ocean. Lake Sonoma does border it in the north, and it has the Russian River that borders it in the south. What makes this region so unique is the way that they are able to grow grapes. There's 3 different ways that you are able to grow grapes. They use the valley floor, which is a little bit more of the flat land. They use benches and hillsides. All 3 of those have really good rocky soil, a little bit more of the kind of clay, some sandy loam, which actually really helps with draining. And the better the soil drains, the actually better grapes you can produce, so that's a big thing that makes us unique. One of the ways that wine growers here, one of the techniques that they use for growing their grapes is called dry farming. So the technique with dry farming is to actually limit the usage of water. So when you're growing grapes, a little bit different from kind of growing regular fruits and vegetables. With grapes, you actually want to stress out these vines as much as you can. So the less you water it, the actually better grape that you produce. So with normal fruits and vegetables, you want to water it on a daily basis. That way the soil is nice and fertile, receives good water. But actually here with vines, you really want the good sunlight that it receives all day and no water. So the more you stress these vines out, the better grape, the better juice, and the better per wine that it produces. What really makes this region fantastic for growing grapes is the coastal and the inland influences it receives. So as I talked about earlier, Dry Creek Valley sits about 20 miles from the Pacific Ocean. So those cooler breezes that are coming in, that fog that rolls over from the ocean, really is a fantastic layer for growing grapes. You don't want frost, but a little bit of the fog in the morning actually really helps kind of control the sugar levels, control the acidity. So that fog that's coming over from the ocean really is a nice kind of layer. It's receiving cool climates and a little bit of the fog coming from the ocean. What really helps out is the sunlight this receives. So Dry Creek Valley does get very hot in the summer. We've seen summers that gets up from 100 to 115 degrees. So those long warm days make this valley fantastic for growing Zinfandel, which is a little bit thicker skinned grape. It can withstand a little bit more of the heat. Besides Zinfandel, Sauvignon Blanc actually grows fantastic here. The Bordeaux and Rhone varietals, which is what I'm going to be highlighting a little bit later today, really is what makes this area fantastic. By 2019, the whole Dry Creek Valley will be 100% sustainable. I think that is fantastic. I talked a little bit about the dry farming techniques earlier, so that helps limit the water. A lot of wineries I've seen have solar panels, so they use a lot of energy from the sun. A lot of vineyards and a lot of wineries usually plant different vegetables, different plants in between their rows of vines, so really is fantastic to see that this whole valley is going to be 100% sustainable. I don't know any other AVAs in this area that can say that, so that really makes Dry Creek stand out from the other AVAs. I figured since I've been talking a little bit about the history, the climate, and the soil of Dry Creek, why not highlight some wines? So the first one I'm going to be showing today is from Kokomo Winery. It is their 2016 Dry Creek Valley Zin from their Pauline's Vineyard. What's really interesting about this wine is they actually just won a gold medal from the San Francisco Chronicle Wine Competition, so that's a big award for them. When you smell it, you get nice spices, a little bit more of fruit, so some brighter fruit, a little bit of the darker berries. When talking to them, they said that they like to pick a little bit more at night because it helps kind of balance the sugar levels as well as acidity. When you taste this wine, a little bit more fruit forward for a wine, so almost kind of a sweetness taste, but good spices, some clove with it. I can really get some strawberry, a little bit of cherry with it, some of the plum in it, but This wine pairs fantastic with some grilled meats, so flat iron steak, vegetables, and I also heard it goes really well with pepperoni pizza. So this is the 2016 Pauline's Vineyard, Dry Creek Valley's Inn from Kokomo Winery. All right, so the next wine that I will be highlighting today is from Dry Creek Valley. This is their 2015 Voganson Ranch Zinfandel. It is a little bit of a blend, so it's going to have about 10% Petite Sirah in it. What's really interesting about this vineyard is it actually sits about 800 feet high elevation. It's on the mountainside, so it gets good drainage from the rocky soil. It does sit above the fog line, so it doesn't have to wait till the afternoon to receive the good sunlight. That helps growing grapes. When you smell this wine, on the nose, it's going to be a little bit more fruit intensity wine, so you're going to get some cherry, some raspberries with it. When you taste this wine, on the finish, you're going to have a little bit more spices, a little bit more tannins with the Petite Sirah. This wine goes fantastic with some grilled meats as well as vegetables, some pasta, works really well with it. So if you're looking for a little bit more tannic wine, a little bit more kind of spice on it, I definitely recommend the 2015 Voganson Ranch Zinfandel from Dry Creek Valley. All right, so I saved the best bottle of Zinfandel for last. The first Zinfandel that I showed you from Kokomo was about 2% Petite Sirah, 98% Zinfandel. From Dry Creek Valley, it was about 90% Zinfandel, 10% Petite Sirah. And the best one for last is Quivira 2014 Black Boar Zinfandel. This is where I work. It is about 82% Zinfandel, 18% Petite Sirah. So the Petite Sirah helps add a little bit more spice, a little bit more structure, as well as tannins to the wine. When you smell this wine, you get some nice plum flavor, a little bit of spices with it. When you taste it, it has a nice long finish from the tannins on it, a little bit more blackberry, some black cherry, a little bit of the darker fruits. What's fantastic about this wine is actually every summer they do a big Dry Creek Valley throwdown here in the area, and all the winemakers, wine owners bring their best bottle of Zinfandel from 30 to 90 bucks. They do a big blind taste test, and they actually vote on the winner at the end of the night. So for 2017, Dry Creek Valley voted the Black Boar Zinfandel the winner of the Dry Creek Valley Throwdown. So this beat out about 30 other wineries, and it is a fantastic Zinfandel. A little bit more tannins on it, a little bit more spice. So if that's what you're looking for, pairs fantastic with ribeye, a little bit more of the grilled meats, so it works fantastic.